Welcome back into the TribPreps video series. We are here with the Week 3 football review. My name is Colten Bartholomew, reporter here at the Tribune. To my left, we have Todd Sommerfeldt, sports editor, and to my right, fellow reporter Alex Vandenhouten, getting you wrapped up here with Week 3. Pretty eventful Week 3. We'll hear some of our thoughts on all that stuff here, but let's start, guys, quickly, run through the scores so everybody knows who won, what we're going to be talking about. We'll start in the MVC. Central had a tough time over in Toma, but they were able to get the job done, 24-21 over the Timberwolves. We're actually going to start with that after the scores because some big news coming out of there. Sparta took care of Logan, 39-16. Holman took care of West Salem, 25-7. Caledonia extended the nation's longest high school win streak. It's always fun to say that. To 56 games. They beat St. Charles 42-7. Down in the Scenic Bluffs, Cashion beat Brookwood 21-20. Bangor ran over Hillsborough 57-6. In the Southwest Conference, Viroqua beat Dodgeville 20-6. River Valley took down Prairie du Chien 18-7. Arcadia beat Westby, kind of probably the biggest upset of the night on our board here. Arcadia.
Cashion.
Yeah, Cashion too. Yeah. 30-25, Arcadia over Westby. In the Swall, Mineral Point took down Onalaska Luther 59-14. Aquinas, big win over Fenimore 48-20. South Central, GET runs over Black River Falls 61-12. Ridge and Valley, DeSoto taking care of business against Kickapoo Lafarge 55-6. In the Dairyland, we had Blair Taylor take down Cochran Fountain City 33-6. Melman over Alma Pepin 21-14. And then in a tough non-conference game, I had that backwards. Lake Mills beat Onalaska 24-23. We'll get to that a little bit later on. But got to start with Central, like we said before. Some big news coming out of there. Early in the game, it sounds like the first half, we weren't out there. Steve Rondior.
First quarter,
okay. So Steve Rondior, Toma, sports editor out there, was at the game. But in the first quarter, Jordan Davis, one of the top receivers, if not in the area, in the state, just one of the best receivers around, gets hurt. Sounds like a pretty severe arm injury. We don't entirely know. We're not doctors. We don't know exactly what happened yet, but sounds like it was a pretty tough one.
Some people are saying collarbone. Collarbone's been brought up. I don't know if that's the case. Shoulder, something in that area.
So something upper body. Not good for the Wisconsin basketball recruit. Having a great year as a receiver. And it's sad because it reminds you of his sophomore year where he broke his ankle in the first quarter of the first game or first half of the first game. So hopefully he's all right or, is able to get back on the basketball court this winter with a scholarship in hand. So other than that, it was kind of the Johnny Davis show, especially after Jordan Davis got hurt. It really came down to Johnny playing both ways, which is a rarity. He doesn't play defense all too often, so he was playing some defense for Central. He scored 3 rushing touchdowns, and then their biggest thing was Central was able to punch in 3 2-point conversions, and that ended up being the difference. Toma kicked extra points, Central got the 2-point conversions. That was the 3-point difference. But if you go back and look at our review or listen to our preview video, I thought we all were pretty on consensus that Central should be able to handle Toma. Yep. And then you maybe just kind of threw the whole game off where you lose your star receiver and a guy that you're going to really run the offense through on the outside, and maybe some things kind of got offline for Central there.
Well, and they were up 24-7, so Toma scored the last 2 touchdowns to make it close. It's if you're Central and you don't have Jordan Davis, you're in a world of hurt, and at least having to make adjustments like that, you just have to let Johnny go out and be Mr. Football Player, and he did. Ran all over the field. Didn't have Jordan to throw it to, so he kind of took it upon himself, and they were able to get the win. But if they're not going to have Jordan Davis and getting ready for Holman next week, that makes that job that much tougher. Yeah,
that'll be a tough game for sure. Make sure you're looking at lacrossetribune.com. We have a full recap from that game, like I said, from Steve Rundy, our Toma sports editor. But jumping over to another MVC game, Sparta and Logan over at Swanson Field tonight. This was I was at that game. It was an interesting game because Logan really did a good job defensively. Sparta gets the opening kickoff return for a touchdown. And it was kind of like, oh man, this is going to be a tough night for Logan. Sparta's on fire to start. But from that moment on until late in the second quarter, Logan controlled this game with the run game, their defense. When their defense was on the field, they were really containing Sparta. 3 and outs left and right for both teams. So it was a fun game to watch in that sense. when Logan's defense finally got Sparta backed up a little bit, they took advantage, got a punt in from the end zone, started in plus territory, punched that in for a score. It ends up being 16-7 Logan, and then the wheels kind of fell off in the last minute of the second quarter. Sparta scores in 3 plays to get it down to a 2-point lead, and then Sparta took over in the second half. They ended up having 3 non-offensive touchdowns, a kick return, a punt return, an interception return. And when you have the powerful offense that they already have, when you give up some of those big plays like that, it's a tough one to try to come back from. I think the biggest thing that I saw from Sparta today was the fact that they came out sloppy, and just I was on the other sideline, I was on Logan's sideline, but it just seemed flat. I honestly think Sparta came in thinking that they could handle Logan, and when the physicality of the game maybe wasn't where they needed to be energy-wise to start, it took them a little bit. Logan was able to take advantage. I think that halftime they did a really good job of kind of settling back in, realizing, hey, like, we're not going to walk over these guys. Like, Logan's came to play. So that's how they kind of took over in that second half. I think the biggest thing, too, that Sparta showed was even when they don't have the best run game going, because Logan's defensive line was pretty special tonight, just containing that inside run, they can do a lot of good things with the quick pass game. And it's not all Cole Wisniewski running around. It was some of it. Obviously, he's going to make some plays on his feet. But him getting the quick pass game going and Sparta kind of having that in their toolbox when they need it against some of the better teams they're going to play later this season, that's a big thing. I've seen Sparta the last 2 weeks, so I'm a little biased, but I'm starting to believe a little bit more that they're a legitimate MVC contender, especially with a Jordan Davis injury. We don't know how severe, but it sounds like it might be pretty severe. So that might hurt Central down the road. And then on Alaska, they suffer a tough loss tonight. So I think Sparta's really starting to cement themselves as a legitimate contender this year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how, and I guess out of the teams we're talking about, with Sparta and Onalaska and Holman, Sparta Onalaska's the only one that's got to bounce back from anything. Then we'll get to that game soon. Talk a little bit about the way that one ended, but yeah, especially if Jordan Davis is out and you don't know if that's going to lead to some dominoes falling with some other things. That would really hurt Central and open the door for Sparta to be in there and try to contend with Holman and Onalaska.
From a Logan side, I think the best thing is that Max Harsey had a great game for them. It ended up being 163 yards on 29 carries and a touchdown for him. One guy I want to throw out, you're not going to see him in the box score or anything. Box score. Caleb Trusoni on an interception. Sparta ended up having 4 interceptions. But on an interception that easily could have been a pick 6 for Sparta's Adam McKee. Sparta was already up by three possessions. Game was pretty much over at that point with another turnover. But Caleb Trusoni from Logan came about 75 yards across the field from the other side to chase him down, tackle him at like the 5 or 6 yard line, something like that. So obviously it's always tough when you lose big in a conference game like that, but the effort's there for Logan.
Did that video make the cut?
Yeah, so that's on lacrossetribune.com. You can see that one.
It's an easy pick 6.
Yeah, exactly.
When I was watching it, Colton had to tell me that wasn't a touchdown. It looked like it was a sure touchdown.
Yeah, so definitely check that video out on lacrossetribune.com. But Logan's got some things to work on. Obviously, they're limited a little bit what they can do in the pass game. But I think the fact that the effort's there, all 4 quarters, that's something that Casey Noble and that staff can build on. So hopefully some brighter things coming for Logan down the road. Let's jump over to the game you were at, Todd. Holman versus West Salem. Started the same way. Yes. Holman starts with the kick return.
Kick return, yes. I tweeted that and then saw your tweet. And your opening kickoff was 90 yards?
Yep. Or no, 83.
Okay, mine was 87. Jaden Abraham took that back 87. And I saw after both touchdowns were scored, 11:48 remained in each game.
Yep.
So,
right off the bat.
Yes, exactly. But credit to West Salem in this one. Holman wins at 25-7, but they got that kick return to start the game, missed the extra point. It didn't even get over the line of scrimmage. It was a very low kick. And West Salem came back and took a 7-6 lead with a nice little drive. And when you have a kick return like that to start a game, it can really take the sails out of you. And make it tough to come back from. But West Salem hung in there and put together a drive, went up 7-6. Holman came back with a couple of touchdowns and in the second quarter to take the lead there and really controlled it from there on out. West Salem only had 133 yards. They changed some things up. They put Noah LaFleur in at quarterback, moved Justin Barney to wide receiver. That seemed to work on a few plays. And I think moving forward, I think they'll be able to take a little more advantage of that combination. So I would watch for that. Dawson Friedland just got hurt in this game too. Ends up on crutches. That's a big blow to their line, offensive and defensive line. So it's going to be tough moving forward for West Salem. As we said, they're going to have tough games from here on out.
Right.
Every single game is going to be tough for West Salem, and I think they stood up to the first wave, and then it's not like Holman ran the ball all over them, and they only had 230 yards themselves. So West Salem hung in there. They just gave up. There was a 98-yard touchdown drive, after a fourth down stop that really kind of cemented things. Even though it was early in the game, it really kind of cemented things and gave momentum into Holman, which never gave it up after that.
We talked about Derek Roberts. We didn't see him in week 2 for West Salem. Was he in there tonight?
He played. Didn't get a ton of carries tonight. They kind of split in the backfield. Had to try to throw the ball a few times more than, well, I guess maybe not more than normal, but he was splitting carries this time, so he was out on the field and just couldn't break anything big.
Sure.
That Holman defense.
Yeah, Holman defense is just solid.
Yeah, absolutely. Drake Shams had a great game today on the defensive line.
For sure. So, Alex, let's jump over your game here. Bangor kind of just did Bangor things.
Yeah.
57-6 over Hillsborough. I mean, I would ask what's the highlight, but it sounds like there are a bunch of them. But just kind of what did you see from Bangor tonight in the sense of just a bigger picture? Yeah, it's not a great team they're playing against, but still they're just kind of taking care of business.
Yeah, Hank Reeder, after the game, I was talking to him, said, they wanted to establish dominance right away. And, well, they did that. The first offensive play, 50 yards to the house. Second offensive play, 50 yards to the house. 15-0, 2 offensive plays, and about 2 minutes into the game. And from there, I mean, it was not great for Hillsborough. I mean, it was, we talked about this earlier, it felt like, Aquinas was a few years ago where you could see they just did not have the numbers, did not have the bodies, and the talent. They were just getting walloped, Hillsborough was. And after a while, it's like, okay, you start to feel bad for some of these kids because Bangor was hitting hard. And they're bigger than a lot of these guys. I mean, we talk about Michael Reed, 305 pounds on the right side of the line there.
Graham Mankey.
And Graham Mankey right next to him, and they're pulling around. And, I felt, I could feel some of those hits that, Hillsborough was on the receiving end of. And, but, I mean, Bangor had 406 yards rushing, 31 carries only. That's 13 yards a clip right there.
Right.
It was just an utter domination, utter dominance from start to finish.
I think one of the things that's interesting to see from Bangor, just kind of year in, year out in this, 5-6 years in a row where they've been a state quality contender type of team, they don't have games like, it's almost Caledonia-like in the sense where against teams that they know they should beat, they don't have that slip-up game. Like, they don't look over anybody. Like, sure, they know, they walk into a game kind of having confidence, we're better than this team, let's just put it away. Like, I was watching your Twitter, and it was like 29-0 in the first quarter, 35-0 in the first quarter. So it's like they put the game away early, and they're not leaving anything to chance. So you like seeing that from just a program perspective, that they're going to make sure that in winnable games they get them won.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I loved about this game too. They weren't messing around. Why would they? Exactly. You see a lot of teams a lot of times. Heck, even today, probably Sparta Logan, like you mentioned. Sparta probably went in there thinking they could win pretty handily, and Logan, took it to them. Sure. You do not see that very often, like you said, with Bangor or Caledonia, but Bangor, I mean, they're not going to see that a whole lot very often from them.
Absolutely. One of the only non-conference games that we had on our slate today, Lake Mills takes down Onalaska, hands the Hilltoppers their first loss, 24-23. Kind of a gut-wrenching one for the Hilltoppers, who had to make a big comeback. Were able to, it looked like, score the go-ahead touchdown with about 30 seconds left. Ends up getting called back for a block in the back down the field. They had a 28-yard field goal attempt. Weren't able to get the snap down for it, so kind of play faltered out from there. So they lose this game. But to think about what they've done this non-conference part of their season, 3 pretty solid teams / very good teams. I think Lake Mills is a very solid team. 2 of them on the road, and to come out of it 2-1 with a 1-point loss where you had a chance to win. I mean, it's tough when you lose to start thinking about this, but big picture wise, Tom Yashinsky and the Onalaska teams got to feel pretty good heading into MVC play.
Oh yeah, rather be 3-0, but 2 wins in these 3 games, like you said, is a pretty big accomplishment, and now they can start thinking about what they need to do to try and win the MVC, and we've seen Holman step up as a contender, and Sparta might be doing the same thing as we said before. So now they got all that out of the way. They learned a lot of things about their team, played some different teams, and now they'll, like I said, start on that path to try and win the MVC.
Right. And I think the biggest thing for the Hilltoppers right now is that they have found some balance offensively. They're not putting up the huge numbers, and that's probably more of a testament to the defenses that they've played, some talented defenses that they've gone against, but they're not having to throw 50 times a game or, hand it off to Levinsky in that backfield, 40 or 50 times a game either. Like, they can do both things pretty well, and they're a tough team to slow down offensively. I think they just run into some really good defenses in the early part of the season.
They just showed too that they can win a lot of different ways. So far.
Right.
We're only 3 weeks into it, and like you mentioned, I mean, they can pass, they can throw, and
they can play defense.
They can play the defense this year.
Yeah.
So they won those first 2 games. They won because of their defense too. I mean, and that's something we have not seen in the past from this team. So, we're talking about MVC contenders, and I think Onalaska's got to be at number 1. Just for that reason alone.
Them and Holman, I think, are pretty interchangeable right now. We'll see what happens, and they play each other last week of the season, so it's going to be fun watching it build to that. Because no matter what happens along the way, that game is going to determine a lot.
Yeah. All right. Well, make sure you're on lacrossetribune.com for more stuff coming on Saturday. We'll have recap kind of stories, different features from the other games or the games that we were at tonight. You can watch the video highlights with coach interviews, player interviews, highlights from games on lacrossetribune.com. But for Colten Bartholomew, for the last time, tomorrow's my last day here at the Tribune. But Todd Sommerfeldt and Alex Van Houten will be back sometime again this season. Thank you for watching, and make sure you're on lacrossetribune.com for all of that and more.